it's a mile from the hotel I'm at. So as sore as I am, I get myself down to this venue. There's no tickets, and I meet this girl, and she's got the jacket. She's security. She's opening the door, and she says, "I'm the girl you hand $50 to, and I open this door, and you go inside."
Come on.
So, yeah, and I said, so I took out my money. I said, "I only got 50. Can I give you 40 so I can get a popcorn?" And she said, "Yeah, cool." What's happening, guys? Happy Monday, and welcome to another episode of Good Guy, Bad Guy. I am Chael. This is Daniel. Daniel, how are you, my friend? I got a question for you. Can I lead with the question?
Go, shoot.
2009. So you'd only had 3 fights. You were signed to Strikeforce, and you had not yet won the Grand Prix. That version of Daniel Cormier, could that Daniel Cormier beat the Ian Garry that I watched fight Saturday?
Hey, I don't know, man. No.
Daniel, he's good.
He's really good.
And he's getting better, and he's getting better jumping around to camps. I mean, I love that he's got Damian Maia in his corner. Damian Maia's never taken anybody down in his life or even tried. All of a sudden, Ian Garry is Mr. Double Leg. And it's not perfect, but it's enough to offer a distraction. It's enough to break things up so you can come back to the high head kick, so you can come back to a game of stick 'em with the rights and the lefts. Ian Garry's a good fighter, man.
Chael. He looked amazing. And we'll get to Ian Garry later in the show. But first, we'll talk about Dustin Poirier. But I have something to ask you. So, Chael, my son has some friends. And they come to stay over at times because they go and lift weights very early in the morning. I put them in my studio, right? So that they can hang out and sleep. And they're off on their own. Chael, you ever walked into a fart bubble, man? You ever walked into a literal fart bubble, man? I got 2 14-year-old boys sleeping in my studio. I come in to walk and do the show, and I get punched in the mouth, man. So I ain't never been hit harder in my life than that. What them dudes are doing it here at night, man. 2 boys sitting here just crapping their pants over and over again overnight. It's ridiculous. Like, what is wrong with these kids?
Not in front of you, though, right? Like, you got to walk into this. If Mr. Cormier's present, they keep it in. Am I right?
Coach, they don't do that in front of Coach. But I tell you, it was just permeating. It's in a box. And when you open the door, it just, Bradley and Mateo, they punch you in the face with their nasty butts that they're just, dude, it's crazy. I'm putting them out, Chael. They got to go back to their houses tonight. But again, speaking of houses.
You ever seen a kid try to light it on fire?
No.
It works. It's not just a myth. It actually will work. If you put a lighter, it works just like the movies.
If any morons would try to do it, it would be these two because they're idiots. But Chael, listen. Speaking of houses, mixed martial arts in Louisiana, in terms of the biggest stage, was built by Dustin Poirier. Not in regards to accomplishments. Obviously, that was me. But I'm talking headlining and being a card in New Orleans, fighting there, living there. Dustin has all those ties to Louisiana. So you could say that his house would be the Smoothie King Arena, where we are going for Max Holloway versus Dustin Poirier in what will be Dustin's retirement fight. Chael, we're sitting in Miami. It was finally announced, right? So Dana goes up there and he announces it, and he's proud of it because it's a good fight. It's a big fight. You broke this fight, dude. As much as I've been crapping on you about some of the misinformation you've been spreading, you broke this one months ago, and Dustin sitting next to you, looking at you like, what is happening? Because he said, you guys had not spoken about it. He goes, it took me completely by surprise, because it's not like I talked to him about it before the show. He goes, he just said it. And I was like, what is happening? But this is the worst kept secret in all of mixed martial arts.
Daniel, can I tell you, so what nobody knows, Dustin Poirier is secretly a really funny and nice guy to hang around. Like he's the last guy you think would be making the room laugh. I was with him in Bristol. Max gets done, lost the championship to Ilia Topuria, goes to the post-fight press conference. Max is all beat up. Nobody listens to the loser at a post-fight press conference, but because it's Max, Bristol plays the audio through, and Max out of nowhere says, I'm going back up to 55, no more 45. And just to remind everybody, I am a champion. I'm still the BMF champion, and I would like a crack at Dustin Poirier because I hear he's only going to do one more. I'm sitting next to Dustin. Hunter texts Dustin, it was like a snap of the finger within seconds. I'm sitting right there. And then a month later, Dustin crawls up my ass talking about, why are you telling people this? We're sitting by each other now. Hunter and Dana think I'm feeding you this information. I was like, I didn't know this was a secret. Max called you out on TV. Jake looped it through to Bristol, and Hunter texts you. You don't got to put on your Columbo rain jacket to realize what's going on here. You don't text a guy because you don't want him to fight. You text him when you do want him to fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, honestly, it felt like it was always the right fight. It just hadn't been announced. And I swear, when you said that and he started stuttering, I said, oh, you got him. Chael got him. Chael, if you could get him to stutter, I don't think so. I said, oh, yeah, he got him. He's fighting Max Holloway. I just didn't want to go in on him because we didn't want to lose him for the whole show, right?
And DC, what about the title, though? Do you like, as a fan, do you like that they're putting up the belt?
I love the BMF title.
Me too.
Here's the problem. It's a problem, but also can be a great thing, right? There is a certain section of the mixed martial arts community that thinks the BMF title is only a gimmick. Chael, I understand that you and I like it. They think it's a gimmick and it needs to be done away with. Hey, BMF title gets defended in New Orleans. Dustin Poirier wins the BMF title and walks away. Title goes out the door with him, right? Hey, that's the danger. Dana White, Hunter Campbell, it is a retirement fight. A loser leaves town. It's essentially a loser leaves town match. Dustin Poirier leaves town. He takes the belt with him. That's it. BMF title's gone. I want the BMF title to stay. But Chael, if it's on the line, and if the guy wins it, and he says, hey, I'm taking my lunch pill, I'll see you next time, BMF title goes out the door, right?
In theory, there is a little bit of a pushback, which is just the precedents we've set. George Masvidal, even though he lost a couple of fights, Kamaru Usman, Colby Covington, the title was not on the line. And when George retired, he retired with the belt. And it was that retirement that allowed us to move the belt to the 155-pound division in the first place. Hey, listen, those women would like a crack at the belt, but they're not ever going to get it if we have a lineage unless you can find a way to make it vacated. And I'm not suggesting that it for sure goes to the women, but we got some real BMF out there, okay? We got guys like Cub Swanson. We got guys like Nate Diaz that would like to get back into the ring. There's some real BMFs out there, and I think it actually could lend to opportunity myself.
Okay, Chael, I got a question. So here's the deal. The UFC doesn't go above and beyond to make it and make those moments for guys on their way out.
That's right.
Dustin Poirier gets an opportunity to fight at home. That tells me that he has meant a lot to the UFC. He was unheralded when he came. He was not a prospect that everybody looked up to. Honestly, Josh Grispy was the guy he fought in his debut, and he was supposed to be cannon fodder for Grispy because Grispy was the hot prospect at the time. It means that Dustin means a lot to the UFC, but Chael, in many instances, these don't work out. Korean Zombie fought Max Holloway, got knocked out. We saw what happened to Anthony Smith last weekend, where he got an opportunity to fight close to home. He got his butt handed to him very bad. Hey, we might want to start learning that guy's name too, by the way, because that dude is pretty damn good. I don't know who he is, but he's good. How much danger is there in this for Poirier fighting Max Holloway at home? Because there's a lot that comes with fighting. Have you ever fought in Oregon, Chael?
Yes, I have. And there is no home field advantage, not in fighting. It's a home field disadvantage. Everybody that you've ever told, from the local pub to your high school, what a badass you are, is going to come out and they're going to find out. They're going to remember. And they're not going to care if that guy's undefeated or a champion or a 3-time black belt in some kind of division. You either beat him or you did it. And not to mention all the free tickets they're going to want. Not to mention the media push that you're going to do, all the radio stations. You're the one that they're going to request. I'm just sharing it's a disadvantage. But Daniel, I'm very impressed with you because you just said the quiet part out loud. I mean, the part that nobody seems to be wanting to talk about is they didn't just book it at home for Dustin. They're not just main eventing Dustin. They're not just putting a title up for Dustin that could walk out the door, which is simply unprecedented. I mean, George St. Pierre did not even get a title shot until he said that he was interested in doing 3 fights. And that's what allowed them to go and do it. Now, I only want to bring this to you because they did bring Dustin somebody that we know Dustin can beat. And we know that because he's beaten him not once, but twice. And they did it at 2 different weight classes. And the one they did at 155 pounds wasn't a very close fight. I believe it was officially 4-1, and my scorecards had it 5-0 Dustin. And that is just something, to your point, that's not the way this game is played. And I do hope that Dustin sees, man, this is a sign of tremendous respect. The UFC is not always great at patting you on the back or even verbally telling you, this is how they're showing you. And I do hope that Dustin sees it because it is a tremendous compliment.
Yeah, it's a massive compliment. He'll get all the love and the adulation from the people from Louisiana. He will get that nice retirement package. Chill. That retirement package they're doing for these guys whenever they're done, man, the one they did for Anthony Smith last week and had me crying. I was like, man, and this is
the one right there in the ring. Oh, I thought you meant like they were setting them out with a little ching-chang. You're talking about, yes, the video. Isn't that beautiful? What a sweet thing.
And, hey, bro, guess what? It was beautiful. It was so well done. And it was so well done, Chael, that on that night I go, who did that? Who could have the foresight to make it that good and just be so prepared? Guess who it was?
I actually believe it was us. I think
Kirsten.
ESPN did that.
It was Kirsten, of all people. Kirsten
did that for him?
Look at that. I wonder if she would do one that good for us because she sure did a nicer for Anthony. She did. Kirsten had me feel like Anthony must have won 10 world titles. I mean, it felt like he was world champion over and over because she did such a great job. Kirsten, I want you to do one for me retroactively so that I can actually see what you think of me. Chael, and Chael wants one too.
Well, Danny, I love that you gave that shout out because some people behind the scenes really don't understand. It's a death. It's a death of a career, but it's a death and it's very hard. And you know this as a wrestler, but you even arranged a wrestling match just so you could have the ceremony, which was to just take off a pair of dirty shoes and leave them on the mat. Now, I don't even know what happens to those shoes after that. I don't know if the janitor comes and grabs them or it's the first kid to get them, or maybe you yourself got to go and get your own shoes. But I mean, that is all you get in the sport of wrestling, and that's more than you get in a lot of things. So when Kirsten or somebody goes and makes a package and drops it on the worldwide leader on a Saturday night, man, it is a tremendous Band-Aid to the wound that you are mourning.
Yeah, the end of a career. And Kirsten, Chael, and I will be waiting for ours. It doesn't have to be 5 minutes. We'll take a minute apiece.
Yeah, a minute apiece.
A minute apiece looking back at our careers.
Sure.
Chael, Dustin Poirier is now 2-0 against Max Holloway. Does this result affect his legacy in any way if it does go wrong? And is Dustin Poirier a surefire Hall of Famer? I mean, I think it's no question, but I want your thoughts on that.
For the Hall of Fame, the answer is yes. And for his career, yeah, man. I mean, you got to remind people that they've ever fought before. Like, we have an influx of new fans. And don't forget when COVID hit. When COVID hit, football's done, baseball's done, basketball's done, hockey's done, table tennis. The only person, the only leader that we had that stepped forward was Dana. But I remind you that because he then recaptured 70% on his audience. We basically had we almost had an entire new audience, at least number-wise. So I only tell you, there's not a lot of people that know that they fought. Yeah. I'm kind of a historian on this sport, and I happen to know, but I even need to reminded that one of those fights was at 145, and I just bring to you, yeah, it's whatever people see last. And I know Adesanya and Pereira, just for example, but they think everybody's keeping track. No, they're not. It's whatever they saw last. Whoever whipped the other one's ass last. And I'll tell you what, if I put myself in that situation, I had to take a guy on 5 times, I'll let him have the first 4 if I can have the last one. The last one's the one that matters, and it matters that much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think yes. I think he needs to win the last one so that he truly takes ownership of the rivalry, because fighting in Georgia is where they fought last time for the interim title. I mean, that was so long ago. I mean, Khabib retired in 2020, and he had fought Dustin in 19, so that might have been 2018 when Max and Dustin fought the last time. 7 years is a lifetime ago, man. And you can become completely different fighters. And if Max Holloway looks like the guy he did against Justin Gaethje, at 155, he's a really tough fight for anyone in that division. But that fight is months away. We got some time to break it down in terms of the X's and the O's of the fight. But Dana White not only announced that fight last weekend, he announced that Joaquin Buckley will fight Kamaru Usman. Chael, this is a massive fight. Chael, guess what they fighting? They're fighting in Chael, they're fighting in Atlanta. Chael, I get a call. Hey, DC, you think it's cool? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. I might not be scheduled to go to Atlanta, but I'm going to Atlanta to watch these two dudes fight, man, because I'm going with my people, Chael. I'm sorry. I got to say it. I'm going with my people. Listen, I have long said that in terms of fighting, mixed martial arts had not connected with the black community as much as boxing did. Well, you got two black dudes fighting in the main event in Atlanta, Georgia. Maybe we can get more people to come out and watch the fight. But not only is that important to touch a different demographic, it's an important fight for the entire welterweight division because you have a champion in Kamaru Usman who is one of the greatest of all time. And you have a guy, Joaquin Buckley, who is doing things that you could never have imagined when he was up at 185, losing to guys like Kevin Holland and those guys. But since going to 170, Joaquin Buckley is as good as anyone in this division. He has a massive opportunity now in front of him fighting a champion like Kamaru Usman.
1998, I was in Atlanta. I was trying not to be a pro wrestler, so I went through the power plant, and I'm in the hotel as sore as can be, and they're doing a live feed. Evander Holyfield is going to fight Rahman for the title. Oh, by the way, where they're showing, it's a mile from the hotel I'm at. So as sore as I am, I get myself down to this venue. There's no tickets, and I meet this girl, and she's got the jacket. She's security. She's opening the door, and she says, I'm the girl you hand $50 to, and I open this door, and you go inside.
Come on.
So, yeah, and I said, so I took out my money. I said, I only got 50. Can I give you 40 so I can get a popcorn? And she said, yeah, cool. So I peeled out a couple of 20s. She opened the door. It was standing room only, but I was still part of it. And they went the distance, and, this was Evander's home. And one of the reasons it was so cool, Evander was massive back then, and he chose to walk in the same doors that the people walk in. He didn't come in underneath, and it was just one of these things. Here we are 25 years later, but I remember this very well. I go back to Atlanta, part of my fight career through. I watched John Jones versus Rashad, which I thought that Rashad, by the way, I thought he left some of his tools. I think that Rashad could have competed a little bit better that night, but I only share with you that I, too, whether I'm assigned or not, will be there for Buckley and Kamaru. And when I cornered Colby Covington in December, Kamaru Usman, Colby took on Joaquin Buckley, but Kamaru Usman sat in the very front row. And I knew when I saw Usman's eyes, and he knew when he saw mine, as soon as that fight with Colby was over, that Kamaru was going to be the one that was gonna step to Buckley next. And here we are.
It's a great matchup. I think it's a really good matchup, and it will show what Kamaru Usman has left. I mean, point blank, right? Yeah. All great champions have a time frame for greatness because time doesn't wait for anyone. It's going to keep going forward. So it's fair to say, right? He fought a while ago against Khamzat Chimaev, and in losing, he almost elevated himself because he fought him so well when Chimaev was thought to be so dominant. And think about what Chimaev has done now to Robert Whittaker since the Kamaru Usman fight. So yes, Usman doing what he did should be applauded. But a win over Buckley can propel him forward. Doesn't matter what happened with Leon Edwards because he's the biggest name. And if he wins, he can then yell, Bilal Muhammad, Jack Della Maddalena, I want my shot, especially if Shavkat is still hurt. And those guys will listen. Is it safe to say that we are right in the midst of Kamaru's last chance, not best chance? This is last chance to try to not only become a champion, but to even really stay relevant in this division.
Yes. Yes, it is. I mean, when you're pulled from pay-per-view to off pay-per-view, just by example, but now the world of promotion starts to work in the world of demotion, and pretty soon you got a pink slip and you're out the door. That's just the way it goes for everybody. Kamaru's nowhere near that, though. I love the point that you brought up against Kamaru versus Khamzat Chimaev. Now, one problem with that fight, it was a year and 5 months ago. And by the time that bell rings for Usman versus Buckley, that's going to have been a year 7 months ago. Rumors are coming out there that Kamaru's got very bad knees, but there's also training footage of Kamaru coming out, and he looks like $1 million. I watched him working out with Izzy 4 days ago on Instagram, just for example, and I regularly get sent videos out of that camp with him and Justin Gaethje. And I don't see anything wrong with the knees. Maybe he can't go for a long 5-mile run, but everything else about Kamaru looks great. And one thing that did bother me to a degree on the fight announcement, and I understood it fully, but I wanted Kamaru myself. I wanted him to stay at 185. I thought as well as he did with Chimaev, one judge was a split decision, just to remind you. One judge thought that he won that night. A number of fans left there still believing that he won that night. I just thought the best way to get a fresh coat of paint, particularly for an older fighter, is to go up in weight. But it's a very hard thing to get through to somebody. So while I'm a little disappointed we're doing it at 170, I probably would have predicted he was going to stay put.
Yeah, it's his weight class, right? And yes, it's easier to go up, but when you fought well at 185, you still start to remember, my best days were at welterweight, so I'm going to continue to try and recapture that in that weight class. You know, Joaquin Buckley is very interesting. So many times when he came down, people didn't know what to expect. And then he fought Vicente Luque and looked amazing. It was like, wow, I mean, this dude is good here. And then he beats Colby Covington, and you go, now we got a contender. I don't know that he needs this fight to solidify himself as that. Because I think now he's putting himself in a position where every fight is going to be a big fight. And Joaquin Buckley at times can be a bit abrasive. He gets after you, he goes forward. And if you have any questions about if he can be abrasive, look at his latest Instagram post, Chael. Did you see it?
No, what did he say?
Oh, my God, Chael.
I heard him call Daniel Cormier a hoe one time, though. So I mean, probably won't surprise you. But what did he say?
We had some, back and forth about that, but no. So he goes, and he's at Ian Garry's weigh-in, right? And Ian's on the stage, and he's pointing at him. And then Ian's wife gives his kid to him on the stage. And Joaquin goes, she ain't going to be able to protect you much longer from me, Ian. He goes, but he's like doing his voiceover, and then he says something to the effect of, and then after she gives the kid to Ian, she reaches over and touches me and goes, I'm going to see you later, and all that. Like, so then he's like, I don't want to see you. I want to see Ian. So it's like, he's so evil, bro. He's such a villain, right? With all the stuff that Ian Garry has gone through in regards to all that, he's being a villain. So he can be a bit abrasive. But in terms of his fighting, he is a true, legit contender. And for a long time now, he will be in the mix for big fights against big names and guys in fights that matter. But he was after Ian Garry last weekend as Ian Garry was in Kansas City. And who, by the way, Chael, as you were talking about earlier in the show, looked amazing. Dude, Carlos Prates is good. Ian Garry made him look not so good. I know he had a moment in the 5th round, but outside of that, Chael, Ian was kind of on cruise control. He did everything he wanted.
And that moment in the 5th round, by the way, has been greatly embellished. I read a thing on Twitter, but it was talking about, and this was from like On Point MMA that does a pretty good job, and they put out, I can't believe he didn't finish him in the 5th round. He wasn't even close to finish him in the 5th round. There was a spot where he could have swarmed him and attempted to finish, and then we could all guess what would happen from there, but it's not like Ian was doing all that bad. I mean, I just got to tell you, Ian has weaponized pace. When he was coming on his run, he breaks into the top 15. He actually did that out in Boston, but goes and gets the tattoo. He's very proud of himself. But I remember when he got the tattoo going, young man, hold on, unless you got a lot of skin left, because you're not staying at 15. I remember being surprised how surprised he was that he broke into the top 15. All right, he goes and he starts sliding through, but then we got to start to wonder about championship rounds and big fights, co-main events and main events. When the lights are bright and all the pressure is on you, he reacts just fine. He's got this new head kick he's throwing left and right ever since his time with Damian Maia. And the first time that we saw him training with Damian Maia is when Ian Garry drew into MVP, which he won the fight. Ian Garry ends up winning the fight on the ground. He's backpacking him. He's looking for rear nakeds, all these things that Damian Maia would normally do. But to watch the growth Ian Garry only had 2 months around Damian Maia. It really doesn't matter how great Damian is at those positions. It's going to take Ian a meaningful period of time. He picked it up in 2 months, and that really was eye-opening to me because now all of a sudden he's adding wrestling. And it's not perfect. He's not getting all those takedowns, but he's getting in pretty close to perfect position. He is setting those up. He is coming underneath. He's getting into that double. He doesn't quite know what to do when he gets there. He doesn't quite know when to lift and when to drive, but he's still changing the dynamic of the fight. Saturday, he's making Carlos Prates constantly guess, is he going to come in for a tackle or is he standing up with me? That was the big difference in the fight, is Garry was determining or at least making the opponent guess as opposed to react to him.
You know what's the first step in taking people down in MMA is the timing. If you can't get the timing, you'll never get a takedown. I was always impressed with your timing. That's where I thought you were so good at taking people down because they never sprawled, right? You always beat them on the timing so bad that they would just fall down. And one of the biggest keys to scoring takedowns and fighting is when you can hit them and you put them down right there where you hit them. You don't run them to the fence. You don't have to drive. You hit him and you put him down. Garry was not putting him down. But what Garry was doing is he was hitting him at the hips every time. At the hips. So he does have the timing now. The finishing can be worked on because you only need one, right? He just needs to figure out one finish. Maybe he learns to get a corner and just sets him down. Maybe he learns to just get up with the guy and sets him down. It's one finish. I was so impressed with his ability to mix in takedowns, change levels, and beat Prates at the hips. I mean, there were times where Prates is like turning sideways, whizzing, because he's got him beat so bad on the entry. Ian Garry is, I'm not surprised though, that he's this good because he's told us and he's been willing. Dude, so many fighters aren't willing to not only fight on short notice, but take a chance. He took a guy behind him in the rankings. He went from fighting the #1 contender to a guy that was ranked number 13. And he did exactly what you're supposed to do in those situations. But he has now fought Shavkat on short notice, fought him well. Prates on short notice beat him. Dana went so far as to say, he's my backup fighter at UFC 315, Bilal Muhammad and Jack Della Maddalena. So that leads me to ask this. When Sean Brady beat Leon Edwards, it felt like it was so clear that he would be the next guy. You said earlier, it's what you remember, Chael. What we remember now as we get ready for Canada is Ian Garry. Is Ian Garry the #1 contender now?
Well, what an interesting way that you laid that out. I believe that the winner of Kamaru Usman and Buckley, particularly if it's Buckley, and maybe specifically if it's Buckley, is probably going to come in and close the book on that whole thing. But the fact that Buckley is at a weigh-in trying to stir something up with Ian means that he's not quite so positive. Look, I think that Ian Garry is a very good choice. I definitely sign off and co-sign the idea of him being an alternate fighter. But if you do that alternate fighter role, alternate is the word I'm trying to say, you are paid a level of participation, but you got to be paid because you got to go through a training camp and you got to take care of all of your trainers. And I only share if you go out, you get licensed, you show up in shape, you're ready to step in on 24 hours notice against one of two guys. Oh, and by the way, you beat the scale. You're next, in my opinion. In my opinion, and history largely agrees with me, somebody that does go through that process does get rewarded, but we're in a very weird time because we got a guy named Rakhmonov and we got another guy named Islam Makhachev who's threatening to go join the division. So there really is no complete clear path right now, but I do think that it's relevant, and I will throw some of my support behind Garry if he in fact does make the walk, get licensed, weigh in, and be prepared to fight on 1 day's notice.
Well, he's always training. So I don't imagine that he's going to be too far out of shape, especially when the fight's next week. I mean, that's the dangers in being the backup fighter, is that you got to make weight so many times. If your number gets called after making weight this week or last weekend, having 2 weeks to try to stay in shape, make weight again, that gets tough because all your body wants after those big weight cuts is to replenish and refresh itself for the next one, right? It just wants it wants to reward itself for the next time it has to go through that. And he doesn't have the time to reward himself before he has to do it the next time. Carlos Prates at times looked lost out there. He just didn't seem to have any answers. Was it simply too much too soon, Chael, for Carlos Prates? Like, too big a jump to be fighting Ian Garry when he hasn't really been around for so long?
Yeah, I mean, it turns out that it was in hindsight. I'll just tell you, it wasn't close. I mean, it was very clear in that it was going to be 4 or 5 rounds to none. But it's not like Prates just laid down. Prates was stalking him. He wasn't fading. Those cigarettes weren't coming back and biting him in the ass. He was many times walking Garry. Garry was many times having to go left, right, throw a punch, get out of the way, back up as Prates was coming to him. It's just as Prates was plotting in, that's when Garry was able to throw some of those high kicks. But Prates was returning the favor of the high kicks. He didn't offer as much in wrestling, but every time there was a chance to wrestle, even if it was defensively, he did his part. I mean, Prates did look pretty good. He did look championship round ready. Could he be more prepared? Yes. And I think an experience like this is one that he learns from. I think the next time that we see Prates, this isn't something that hurts him. I think he's storing little things away right now about what he needs to do different, all the way to before he leaves the locker room. The stoicness and the approach, how much he enjoys the crowd versus how much he stays locked onto his opponent. Yep. Those are all things that you can kind of learn on the job. Prates got whipped by Garry, but Prates didn't look bad, man. He looked like a good fighter. I can't praise Garry as high as I'm praising him unless I tell you that Prates was a pretty durable opponent, and he was.
Yeah, you don't get the praise that Ian Garry got if you don't have an opponent in front of you that people respect.
And this guy's a nerd.
I didn't lose any respect for Carlos Prates. No. And I'm still high on him because guess what, Chael? If he isn't fighting a world-class fighter, Ian Garry's world-class, he's still going to do what he's been doing, right? So I haven't lost too much faith in him. I think he needs more time. And I think, like you said, more focus. Because, look, man, the cigarette thing is funny, but you can't smoke cigarettes before you fight, man. I sent a message in the group where it said, this dude was smoking on Friday. He's standing outside smoking a cigarette, man. Come on, man. Like, please, Carlos. We don't want to do that right now. Chael, Thursday.
The gimmick works the same if you don't light it. Just to remind you, Michael Jordan used to do it all the time, but he wouldn't light it. It's a little bit different. He can have the cigarette. He could save himself some money on the cigarette. Use the same one over and over. You don't actually have to smoke them to have a gimmick of being a cigarette smoker.
What about a prop? Use one of those prop ones that they use in the movies.
Exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, just use a prop one. Like they actually blow some sort of smoke out of it. Like if you want to be authentic, do that. Doesn't really matter. We just want to see a guy that can fight. And honestly, he fought 25 minutes at a pretty good pace. So I don't think it's affecting him all that much. But it's exciting and it's interesting to have 2 more young guys that can really add to the welterweight division. Chael, Thursday, you and I will break down Iowa. I never thought they would have a fight night in Iowa. I was talking to my friend Chris Perry, Oklahoma State NCAA champ,
of course,
who's at Iowa State now. He told me that the completely sold out tickets were expensive. How in the world can Iowa be a good market for fighting? It's about taking chances. UFC took a chance, and it seems like it's going to be another home run in Iowa, and you and I will discuss that on Thursday. I'm excited. Iowa, Chael, for a fight night? Next is Stillwater, right? Can we get Stillwater?
Oh, hey, Bo Nickal's got a hard fight. I mean, when you want to talk about Iowa, when you're talking about that wrestling base, I don't know if you wanted to get into it now, but as a quick tease, I'm going to help you in breaking down that fight. But I do think that Bo Nickal is really one to look at when you're looking at the rankings and DeRenner, and a lot of people don't know about him, and he's a 2-time one champion. Man, you're getting drawn from the bottom of the deck. Both of these guys got a hard walk in front of them.
Hard walk. Sandhagen versus Davison Figueiredo. Renier de Ritter versus Bo Nickal. Ponzinibbio versus Daniel Rodriguez. It's going down in Iowa this weekend. Chael and I get into it on Thursday, and we will see you there. For the bad guy, Chael Sonnen, I'm Daniel Cormier. We'll get you on the next one. Peace.